hashtag for Kyle.
For Ninong.
For Ninong, there you go. For Ninong. Prayers up.
How about Ninong Strong?
Ninong Strong.
Hey, bro, you're a milk guy.
This guy is a calcium expert.
Daryl is wearing a tracksuit. And he's wearing glasses, and he looks like Vector from Despicable Me. That guy from Despicable Me.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to the Large Guys podcast. It's the best show not on television. I'm your host, Joseph Quiray, and we have a special guest. We've had some guests on the show, but I'll be honest, nobody as important as our guest. We have a friend of mine that I went to high school with, and he's not just a friend, but he's also currently an NFL pro athlete. He's also I believe, two-time All-Conference USA linebacker. I did my homework a little bit on your stats and stuff. But we have Emmanuel Ellerbee. He played for the Falcons, the Chargers, the Seahawks, and most recently the Texans. We'll get to his career in a little bit, but Emmanuel, you wanna say anything real quick?
No, man, just excited to be here. Thank you for having me. It's gonna be a dope little podcast, dope little episode. So let's get into it.
Yeah, for sure. So I do want to kind of start with some more recent stuff, like we mentioned just before we started this recording, and very recently some stuff happened in Houston. With the snowstorm, and people were displaced from their homes. They were without power for weeks, lacking the basic necessities. I know it's kind of like a heavy way to start, but just kind of want to go with the things that have been most recent. But that definitely affected, a lot of people all over Texas. And you being from Houston, stepped up to the plate, and you sponsored an event that I'm not sure how many meals it was, but you did sponsor an event where there were free meals given out to people who needed it. Just want to talk a little bit about that. And, I see that throughout your career, you've been involved, in the community often. And so also I just want to know a little bit about what you did recently, but also just your focus on giving back, whenever you can, given, you're now pro athlete and you have a bigger platform and more resources.
Yeah. So, obviously the stuff that happened in, Texas, just all across the state in general, it's just, it sucks. It sucked a lot because it was something that everybody thought was just going to be like a simple ice storm, and, everybody be able to work in their houses. But, because of all the stuff that happens with climate change and stuff like that, we didn't anticipate for all the snow to come and for it to have such a, effect. And, obviously the power grid went out, but, that was tough. And for me to see, for me, I'm born and bred in Houston, we come from, Strake, which is a unique school because it's a private school, but many people don't know, like, that school is really in the heart of so many cultural sects, right? Like, if you go down one street, you're in the middle of Chinatown. You go down Bel Air, you're in Chinatown. You go down Gessner, it kind of feels like, like you're in a little bodega, like it's, all different types of shop. And then there's so many cultural sects around there. But like for me, Houston's so important for me because, growing up there, going to college there, even playing in this fashion, like it's always had like that part of who I am. It's a part of who I am. So, seeing my city hurt, and just the necessity of food. And I'm like, well, I kind of had like the onus of myself and seeing, so many people like, there's no water, there's no X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, man, what can I do? And the fact that now I'm in the league and I do have the means to be able to help out, I was like, there's no, I couldn't be there because I was actually in, Seattle at the time. And we had a whole entire snowstorm up here, but they're equipped for that, Texas.
Yeah.
We wasn't expecting to see a
We're
foot of snow, what I'm saying? We're not built for that. Like, I don't care what anybody says, like, oh my gosh, you're like, Texas are making a big deal. It's like, nah, bro, we're used to 100-degree heats and humidity where you step outside and you already sweating before you even like taking a step. That's what we're built for. We're not built for the snowstorm. So seeing so many people kind of within the community just be without food and stuff like that, I hit up one of my friends who's like I'm a foodie. So I hit up one of my friends who's also like a huge foodie, and she has a page and she partners with restaurants all the times and like does things with restaurants. And so I was like, hey, is there any way we can do something with this restaurants where we like just give them to be able to like, get food out, just to get, people to be able to food. And I'm like, that's so that hits close to me because I love food so much. And I'm like, I think everybody should be able to eat and have a meal. And I couldn't, like not seeing that. So it was fun. It was crazy. It was really like in the matter of maybe like 12 hours. I hit up my friend, and then she hit up a couple of restaurants, and we got one that we were able to partner with that could do it immediately. Chill Taco 713. You got to check them out whenever you're in Houston. And they were able to put out some taco plates together, and we were able to get I think over 50 families fed. I think we like had 100 meals, and 91 of them were given out. And then I'm not sure. I think we ended up giving them out all. I think we all gave them all out. And so we were just trying to do, stuff in the community like that. And I've always been big on the community because, what we've been taught AMGT, add more and make glory, and meant for others is, what, somebody gives on to you, you're expected to return that. And, just out of the goodness and kindness of my heart. So I was just like, man, that's just something I want to do. I always want to me, I think, that impact that I could do and helping those people out lasts a lot longer and does a lot more change and makes a lot more difference than anything I could do on a football field, So yeah, it was big for me.
Yeah, for real. Yeah. Respect, man. And you brought up just being a pro athlete and the, I guess, responsibility that comes with that, especially for the community. So I want to say a few days ago, this is kind of like a bigger scale, but Ibrahimovic called out, I'm assuming you saw that Ibrahimovic called out LeBron for, kind of dipping his toe in too many things. I was just curious what you think about that, because, knowing you as somebody who is feels how important it is as an athlete to be involved as much as you can for, different issues, whether it's social or whether it's stuff about, local, like within the community, like,
right.
Obviously, I'm sure you would agree on LeBron's side, but just kind of how do you feel just about the responsibility of, being in your position as an athlete to be able to affect change and to be part of that positivity?
Yeah, I mean, I'm for sure 110% on LeBron's side. I think you saw it this past summer for sure, like all the stuff that happened with the George Floyd protest. And I think in a sense, it kind of sucks, like being as African American, and especially being as a Black man and stuff like that. You're always kind of told, in a lot of respects, especially being an athlete, is like, man, don't get into that stuff, right? Like, keep ball and politics separate. But it's just like, it can't be separate, and as much as we want to keep politics out of stuff, it's really hard for you to, because like I'm doing an externship right now, and it's just, everything is politics. You know what I'm saying? Like, your biggest corporations, to the most simple things that you could think of, they're doing stuff to be able to try to affect change on Capitol Hill, and they're looking out. And so it's like, why wouldn't you, while you're here, try to make a change to be able to benefit the people that helped you get out of whatever situation you are? And so, like, a lot of people throughout, America are trying to be able to make, they're trying to make, everybody's trying to achieve that American dream, right? So it's like, what can I do to help the next person below me, or, the next generation coming up, making their roadblocks and stuff like that just a little bit more, or a little less harder for them, so that they can be able to go further than what I had to. Like, I feel like if you're here and you're in your standpoint and you accomplish a lot, but you don't do anything to help or, reach back to pull other people up, then you're really wasting it. You know what I'm saying? Like, God doesn't, somebody pulled you up to help you get to where you're at. It's only right for you to be able to pull other people up. And so when it comes to like athletes and really just affecting change and doing that stuff, I think, you can't be an athlete and not speak up on stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you have such a huge platform, and we're so polarized now to the point where, like, I mean, athletes are, a huge influencer, and people tell me all the time, like, oh my gosh, you're such a celebrity, you're in the NFL. And to me, I think I'm an average. I'm like, man, I don't know. I'm not X, Y, and Z. You know what I'm saying? I feel like I'm just like, this is my job. I'm just a normal person. But at the same time, you do have people that look up to you, and they think that you're a role model. So, in my eyes, I feel like you always got to be trying to make some type of, trying to make change, or just trying to make things, not even trying to make change, going out with the idea that, like, I'm going to change this. It's more so like the reasoning behind why I try to do the stuff that I do is because I'm thinking about where I was at all those years ago, like 10 years ago, when I was a kid coming up and stuff like that, and how amazing it was to see an NFL player come and talk to me. So, like, I'm working now to actually start my foundation. We finally got the paperwork. We're starting to file it. And, it's all about the youth. And because I've been big on that, I was in a lot of after school programs when I was coming up. I had a lot of mentors from Strake, teachers and stuff like that I still even keep in contact to this day with. And I just know that for me, that was so crucial. And A lot of lessons that they taught me, a lot of, the fact that they sowed so much into me, I'm be able to reap it. And I want to be able to sow that into somebody else so that when they get older, they can be able to reap the same, benefits, if not even better benefits than what I was able to reap. So,
Yeah, no, for sure. And yeah, you brought up a good point of, the responsibility that people have, because you think about it, like I was a business major in college, and, we learned all about, corporate responsibility and how, in some way it is a way to, get people to be on your side and to, to be more into your brand. But at the same time, like, you should also, just out of the goodness of your heart and the resources that you have, be willing to do these things. And I think about it when going back to the Ibrahimovic thing, it's like, if brands like Gatorade and Nike and Adidas are able to use you as the athlete to help with their brand, that's the same thing basically that you do with, political and social stuff. It's using your influence to get people to, understand or learn more about things that are, definitely more important than, buying the next shoe or the next, or whatever Gatorade bottles coming out next or whatever. So it's, I think some people don't necessarily see that perspective. And obviously I don't know Ibrahimovic personally or anything like that, but I mean, it's obvious that, when he releases a statement like that, it's like, well, maybe he just doesn't, obviously he's from a different country or whatever, different background, but it's like, maybe he's only seeing it from one side. And that's why he can't relate or understand what, people like LeBron or other athletes here in America are doing, and why it's so important and stuff like that.
Right. And I think you said, you just brought up a point. It's like, for so long we've been told, it's like, man, keep politics out of it. So everybody loves sports because it's like, it's the one playing ground where people are able to say like, man, there's no politics. I don't care if you're black, white, or whatnot. But it's like, at the end of the day, it really does matter, because at the end of the day, when you leave that football field, you have to assimilate back into regular life. Like, one day I'm not going to be an NFL player, right? And when I'm done playing football, I have to just, I'm going to have to go get a job, just like, every other person that when they leave college or whatnot. And I think that's like the biggest thing is like, well, what did you do while you were in that standpoint? Because, there's another generation that's coming, and it's like, what can they do? So it's like, making sure that while you have this platform, that you do a lot of stuff to be able to change and to help a lot of people. So yeah. It's really interesting. Whole entire thing is interesting in my opinion.
Totally. And, kind of building off of that and using your voice and your platform and your influence to, help lift up, I guess, other voices or other people's legacies. This past month of Black History Month, I saw on Twitter that every day you posted about different important figures that, did you know all of these, like all about all these people, or did it take some research for some of them?
Oh no. So like, I literally do the research. Like, I do the research kind of really throughout the month.
Okay.
It's something that I actually started my freshman year of college. I don't know what possessed me to do it. I almost want to say I was trying to impress a girl. Oh, some just me being an idiot freshman type deal. But it grew, and people really started to like them. Like, man, I really appreciate you doing that. Like, I'm learning about so many people that I didn't know about. And it's like, you have your time within, school, and it seems like, Black history is not really kind of taught in that way. You know what I'm saying? And it's American history. Like, African Americans and really a lot of minorities have, help build this country, and it's not what we're taught in school. You know what I'm saying? It's funny how history's only kind to certain people, right? And they always say like, history's kind to the victors or whatnot. And it sucks, because a lot of times, like, a lot of people that are African American, Asian Americans, Latino American, all those different cultural sects have made some amazing innovations and inventions that our normal day-to-day life would not be the same without it. And so I started it 6 years ago, and I was like, man, I'll just do a fact today. So like, I started pulling out facts, and I was like, I don't want to do the same old normal bland facts. I was like, George Washington Carver, made peanut butter. Like, everybody knows that. That's one of the like trivia questions you get on an assignment back in school. And it's like, no, I want to kind of highlight people that, you don't know about in the past. But then also, this year I tried to do a change. Is like, I was almost doing 2 facts in a day, because I was trying to say like, there's always ways to a bridge that connects, right? So like, the older generation does one thing, and then the younger generation, builds off of that. It's all I was trying to show through, I would do like basically like a past fact to like a present fact. And like, this person opened up the door for such person that you see currently today.
Okay.
And this is where they get their inspiration from. And it's crazy the way that the kind of like the change work. Like this one, like I'll take for instance Althea Gibson, and she was I mean, we think Serena's cold, but like this woman was fire. Like Serena is by far the most decorated athlete. I don't care what anybody says out of any sport. I mean, to do what she's done and to be that dominant for that long, you know, for her to talk about greatest athletes of all time, she's probably up there. I mean, she is up there. There's no doubt. Like she's top 2 and not 2. I can't think of anybody else who could be able to be better. Like Tom Brady, it doesn't really even kind of hit the same hemisphere as Serena. Like Tom Brady's great. Don't get me wrong, but
I was gonna say, Serena, hey, chill out. You might be playing for the Bucks next year. So
right. You never know. Don't get me wrong. Tom Brady's great, but like Serena, and then the woman who she really stemmed a lot of her, kind of like really opened up a lot of doors for women within the tennis atmosphere. And not only that, within the golf atmosphere too, is this woman named Althea Gibson. And it's funny because she was like the first woman to integrate the LPGA tour, and then also was the first person to win in Wimbledon, and to be able to like win the, I guess it's the US Open now, but I think it was called like the US Nationals back in the day.
Okay.
And it was like all the stuff that she did was really swept under the rug because she was African American woman, like she was Black. And because she was Black, they weren't giving her the media attention of the pub now. But it was like funny, as I was researching her, it shows like an instance before like Serena started winning her big matches, like right before she like started really kind of getting into the pro circuit, she actually wrote to her and was like, hey, you know, my coach is telling me about you. I love your story and all the stuff that you do. Do you have any advice for me? And it was like, wow, like you're literally seeing a woman who was a pioneer or a trailblazer kind of really reaching back to the younger generation. And now we get what it is that I said in the beginning of this podcast is somebody who's not been able to go and reach, you know, reap the same success, but even do better and being able to be even higher. So it's like, that's really dope to me to be able to, you know, see that and that connection. So that's what I was trying to do, is really just highlight so many, you know, African Americans that we have, you know, in our community, and then just around our whole entire, like, you know, throughout our country's history that don't get light shed upon them all the time. And it, you know, so I've always been trying to do that. And then it doesn't stop, you know what I'm saying? Like throughout the year, I always find out, you know, different Black history facts. So I'm like, oh, okay, you know, the month of February, I'm for sure, you know, if I don't, you know, retweet it during that time, you know, pull it up later. So
yeah, for sure. It's funny you brought up the whole invention thing, because literally as you were saying that, first person's name who popped in my head, I was like, George Washington Carver, peanut butter. Like that's the most, like, I guess, typical thing you hear about, you know, next to Martin, MLK, Malcolm X, like you. And even with somebody like Malcolm X, you hear about him and you hear about the Black Panthers, but you never hear about what they really accomplished. You only hear that they carried guns. Like when I remember in school, like all I basically knew about until maybe like end of high school, early college, was that they carried guns in the streets, you know, and people thought they were dangerous. But then you look, you know, deeper into it and what, you know, they really accomplished and what their core values were about. And then you're like, man, they never mentioned that once, you know. There's like 2 pages in the textbook, and then we moved on, you know.
Right, exactly. Like they did a lot of great stuff, and they like helped, like, I don't know if have you seen Judas and the Black Messiah?
I watched it recently.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like you look at Fred Hampton, he was like young and he was 21.
Yeah.
And his whole entire thing was, I'm just tired of our community struggling. Like, man, let's go get the white nationalists, let's mix with the Puerto Ricans, and let's take the Blacks, man, let's just all band together to be able to make change in our neighborhood so that we can be able to be better. And like the resources that are getting pumped into these other richer, more affluent neighborhoods, let's pump that into ours. Like, let's band together so we can be able to do that. And so it's like when you add, you know, you see that, and it's like, it's really inspirational. And it kind of makes you, in my mind, it kind of makes me a little upset and kind of mad, because it's like, man, there's a lot of great stuff that's being done. And it's on us now in our generation to be able to tell these stories, you know what I'm saying? Because everything's so social. And then we also have like the next generation that's coming up. They need to know about this, you know, because if we don't tell these stories, then they'll get lost in the shuffle or whatnot. So yeah,
definitely. Yeah. And it's like, it was cool. I was watching the interviews because I watched on HBO Max. So like they had like those sub interviews with some of the actors. And one of them, I can't remember which one said, but he said, you know, like the free breakfast program started with them, you know, back then. And he was like, I grew up in that program in New York. And it's like, that's crazy that, like, you know, like a few decades later, and that's still living on, and it's affecting people to the point where it's all full circle. He's literally, you know, depicting somebody that, basically affected his childhood and allowed him to actually be fed. And it's like, when I look back, I'm like, man, I wish these stories were told. Like, they should be told, because
Sure.
that definitely is something that provides motivation for, like you said, the younger generations. If we knew it earlier in our lives about, the truth of a lot of these things, we could have been affecting change years ago,
Right. Exactly. So
Yeah.
it's really interesting to see, like you just said, that whole time.
Yeah. I know you mentioned some of the feedback, but I guess recently in terms of feedback from what you did this past month, have you had people reach out to you, like whether you knew them or not, and them let you know that, like, thank you for shedding some light on this, I learned a lot and stuff like that?
Yeah, a lot of my friends kind of like were hitting me up and they're like, man, I really appreciate you doing this, because this is stuff that I did not know myself. One of my friends, my friend Sergio, he like pinned the tweet and was like, I love this time of year, man. I love it when you do these things, because every single time it's a quick little thing. I get to learn a quick little fact. And I feel like I'm broadening my thing. And a lot of friends who had told me, I think my grandmother, so she was like, you talked about the New York of the Black Panther thing. It was funny. She's always big on me like that. Like grandmothers are like, know your history, know all that stuff. And so she's really huge on that, because she wasn't in the Black Panther Party, but she was in New York at that time. And so a lot of her friends, people that she went to church with, were in the Black Panther Party. And she helped out with a lot of their stuff. She wasn't necessarily a Black Panther, but she was for sure helping out with a lot of stuff that they had to do. It's like that free breakfast program and all that stuff. That's amazing that happened. And so like she reached out to me and she was like, are you doing something? I was like, Grandma, I've been at this for 6 years. You know what I mean? Like I've been trying to do my part. And she really was like mind blown, and she was really happy because she found out some things that she thought she knew, but didn't even like really know. No, like it was like kind of stuff that she had heard about back then when she was like kind of alive and like not alive, but like going through it and being actually there and present. And then she was like, I always wondered what happened with that, but I never, it was so. And then she gives me her own 2 cents, to like kind of like puts things into perspective, because you're like, man, this is what the country was like at that time, and explaining that. So yeah, I've had people from really all ages, older generations, older people, even to people that are our age and even younger, been like, man, I appreciate this so much. It's dope that you do that, which makes me feel good. And makes me, it makes me feel as if I'm not talking to deaf ears, and that the message is really kind of getting out there, which is, always a great thing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I mean, like I personally have been trying to like take a step back from social media, just like, I'm just trying to do more important things in my life, trying to get things done rather than just,
For sure.
like just looking at this the whole time.
It's so funny. You put your screen time on, and it's like me. I don't know about you, but I have like that time limit for social media, and I'm always in it. Remind me of 15 minutes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that little thing. Because like I'm trying to take a social media break now. Like I usually the month of March, I'm like, because February I'm on my phone so much doing the tweets and stuff like that. I like usually by the month of March I'm off. And then, I'm saying like kind of recharging. You got to get off of social media, bro. Social media is
for
a lot.
For sure.
It's a lot.
Yeah. And so I think I only caught like the last couple of weeks of like, I just randomly happened to see on Twitter one of the posts that you put, and I was like, and I opened the thread, I was like scrolling through, I was like, man, there's so much stuff. And it's so funny, like you mentioned, you had some older generation, you had some new generation. I think you posted about Kendrick Lamar, right?
Yeah.
So it was funny because I was like scrolling through it and I was like, okay, these people I've never heard of, and I was like, okay, this is somebody I for sure know.
I try to put as like let's do something that every now and then try to put something that's like really present to somebody It's like, oh wow, okay. I didn't even know he was making strides like that. And I try to do that more so.
Yeah, because definitely like you see icons like present day, and we don't ever really think about like Kendrick Lamar's a rapper. We just think about what he's doing in his music career, but then there's stuff that you do see online, but there's also a lot of stuff you just don't see unless you really dig deep into it, and just to kind of learn like what people are really and truly about. It was really cool. So that's why when I was looking through it, I was like, Kendrick Lamar, I was like, let's see what this is about, because I only know as from a fan's perspective what he's doing in the rap game, and that's about it. But it's like, all right, he's doing this too. Like, I would assume that a lot of people are reaching out to the community as celebrities, but you don't actually know until you look it up or you do the research. So I definitely thought everything that you were doing, I was, even the stuff that like I hadn't seen, I was trying to catch up, see, all right, let's see where he started at. And I was like, it's a long thread, but I'm just gonna look through it. You know, that's all my
Yeah.
social media for the day. But yeah, it was definitely cool to see that, and also to know that you've been doing this for 6 years. Like, it's not just, you know, a first time thing, but it's something you've been committed to, and it's been growing and expanding. And I think that's really cool to hear about. And you know, that's really awesome. And again, like the whole, you know, AMDG thing that you bring up, that was instilled in us, that we saw every day at Strake. And we'll talk a little bit about
Right.
high school in just a moment. But
sure.
it's like, there's one of those things where like you saw that everywhere you went on campus, and then you realize how prevalent it is and important it is in your life, that you can, you know, that concept can be taken and pushed into so many different, you know, like avenues of your life.
For sure.
Yeah. And speaking of high school, you know, I did mention we're going to talk a little bit more now about your football career. We did a lot of the heavier things. Now we're going to get a little bit lighter. And, you know, just want to start with high school. And like I mentioned, we went to high school together for 4 years.
Right.
And first question is not football related, but we took Latin together for 4 years. Have you retained any of your Latin knowledge?
Jeez, I have not, but I for sure like to drop it whenever I go do something, and I'm like, oh yeah, I took Latin, yada yada yada, you know, Magna Poali. I can't remember what did Zoc used to say. When Mr. Zoc, you know, shout out Mr. Zoc, it was his favorite. The big girls carry water. That's like the only thing I remember. Magna Poali, and then what was it? Year 3 we had Mr. White.
Yeah,
Mr. White, he was cool people, and he really got, you know, LARPing and all that stuff. It was dope. I haven't brushed up on my Latin in forever. I'm pretty sure if I see it, I can like remember it.
Yeah.
Because it's I've been trying to take Spanish and trying to learn a little bit of Spanish now.
Okay.
You know, trying to learn how to be bilingual in some senses.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's about, that Latin was fun.
Yeah, for sure. I was explaining to my girlfriend that, like, I mean, it definitely started with the whole Latin thing. Like, I mean, it was just a chance to be at, you know, St. Agnes, and
I was about to ask. I was
to
really
not
about to
be
ask,
on
like,
campus.
why is it that you took? Because I know the whole reason why I took it. Like, the whole reason why I took it, it was a class with girls. It was the only class as a freshman you could take with girls. I was like,
Trust me, same exact reason. I couldn't care less about like Latin from the beginning. It became like a more fun thing the more you learn about it. I mean, I also haven't retained. Like, if I see words, I can probably like try to figure out what it is, but like the grammar stuff, don't even talk to me about that.
I didn't understand it back in high school. I don't understand it now. Like,
exactly.
It was, like, I'm not finna, like I said, you said the whole entire reason why I was in that class, the same reason you was in that class, was like, oh, we can get off campus and go take classes with girls. Man, I'll see y'all later. Like, you take Spanish for this? I was like, man, see y'all later. I'm in Latin.
Exactly.
Like, I'm in Latin 100% of the way.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just to be able to go over there.
That's what every freshman guy would immediately.
Right. That's the dumb stuff we do as dudes being a freshman. Is like, oh, even not realizing that this is probably, I think, the only maybe Mandarin, and they weren't even offering Mandarin at that time. I think.
Yeah,
like,
I don't think so.
I don't think they were offering Mandarin at the time. But it was like it was like Spanish, French, I think, and then taking Latin, and they were like, okay, well, this one you can take it with girls, not realizing that's the hardest language, just a dead language. It's the hardest language to learn. Like,
yeah,
come on, bro. Like, but us is like, man, I don't care. I get to sit in class with girls.
It's
y'all
like
get to look at dudes all day. Like,
no, exactly. And it's like, you're not gonna speak Latin after, like, Spanish and French makes sense because you can use that in the world. But Latin, what are you gonna do? Like, tell people what the root of this word is?
Right. That's like the funny thing. They're like, oh, well, if you're going to be a doctor, and I was like, I'm not going to med school. Like, I kind of realized, I was like, yeah, this is, like you just said, bro, like, nobody doing that.
Exactly.
We're not talking Latin,
Yeah, but I definitely want to bring that because I was like, I remember the first day of Latin class freshman year. Mr. Zog asked, he's like, so why do you guys want to take Latin? And all the guys kind of looked around and were like, yeah, I don't have a good answer for this. Like, we all had the same answer in mind, but obviously you don't. But we didn't want to say it.
You don't want to say it because it's like you're sitting there with a whole bunch of girls, like,
exactly.
I'm here to be able to talk to them, not really, whatnot you. And then you're just like, I really want to learn Latin so that I could be able to become a better speaker. And
Yeah.
he's like, yeah, all right, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
We'll see y'all after the first quiz. What y'all
Exactly.
talking
Yeah.
about?
Exactly. But keeping up with the high school stuff, like I said, you're in the NFL now, but I wanted to kind of just pick your brain about what it's like at the high school, college, and pro level, the differences. And I guess, obviously I'd say high school is where you kind of got your foundation of being a football player. But
Mhm.
what was it like? Because, I mean, the program was, is in a different state than maybe it is now, right?
Yeah.
But, at the same time, it's, whether it's, it's not necessarily about the wins and losses. Or I mean, it is the wins and losses, the state championships, like everybody
No,
wants that. But, for
that
somebody,
does matter.
yeah. But for somebody like you who, I don't want to like roast you guys too much or anything like that, but it's like, we didn't see
We was
much success.
trash. We was
We
trash.
didn't see much success,
Keep it
but
100. We was trash back then.
yeah.
The program is a lot better. I'm so much happier for what the program is now. Gosh, we were bad back then. Like we were really bad. We were a bad team.
Yeah. But
it was horrible.
for you as, just the individual player, how did that kind of contribute to where you are now?
Yeah, so I guess, gosh. All right, let's go back down memory lane a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, high school football was cool, man. Texas high school football is probably, it's not probably it is the best in America. It's competitive, it's Friday night lights, it's pageantry, it's all those things. Even at our school, which is an all boys private school that's playing against a whole bunch of public schools.
Yeah.
And we were playing in the Katy district, which was just
I mean,
they had it was one of the toughest districts in the state. Like, I mean, all the teams we were playing against had like easily like I think they had like 120 kids. Like they were like college programs, how many kids they had on their teams. And we were out there 40 strong. And it was like, it was hard for us to be able to go out there and be able to play. But no, high school was really cool. I really learned my competitiveness, my competitive edge was really I learned a lot of work ethic. I had a lot of mentors, a lot of great mentors, and a lot of great coaches throughout high school that really shaped who I am today. I don't know if you remember Mr. Finke, or whatnot. Yeah, Mr. Finke was he was one of our coaches, but he was also my geometry and algebra 2 teacher.
Right.
And it was crazy because Mr. Finke was really I ended up majoring in engineering. And I really kind of have to say that Mr. Finke was one of the people who I would say to this day, him and probably, I don't remember Mr. Coach Day. You remember Coach Daly?
Yeah.
Them two, I would probably say they're the sole reasons that helped me persevere through engineering throughout college and stuff like that. Because they told me, they're like, oh yeah, you're good on the football field. It's dope that you can play football. But they were like, what you gonna do off the field? It's important. And my parents were huge on my grades too. But then they also get that reinforced when I went, into class and I had teachers that held me to the stand and they're like, we're not gonna pass you just because you play ball. We could care less. In the real world, it's not gonna be like that. So they were like, for me to have coaches like that and whatnot to really kind of sow a seed, and they really saw Mr. Finke, I remember I think I failed one of his tests and I had told my parents and I got a C in his class. You remember that first report card you get at Strake and you have the parent teacher conferences right after.
Tough.
And it was I told my parents, I was like, man, I think I can. I don't know if I could do it here. I was like, if we be honest, it's time for me to go to public school. We got to pack our bags and leave. And my mom was freaking out. I never got to see before. And my dad is freaking out or whatnot. And Ms. Finke said, if he wants to get his grades up, he's gonna have to work. And I used to be in his office hours every morning. I would get to school, work out, and then as soon as I finished working out, I was straight to his office hours and learning that. And so I learned my work ethic throughout high school. High school was I think Strake was so cool because they put so much on us academically, and then athletically, I knew where I wanted to be and I knew what I wanted to do. And then they told me hey, if you want to do it, it's there for you, but you're gonna have to work for it. And they constantly Dean Fletcher, Coach Savannah, who is a father figure to me. I even still talk to him to this day.
Yeah.
All those guys literally were telling, you're gonna have to work. You gotta work. Nothing in life comes easy. You're gonna have to do stuff that you don't want to do, because if you do that stuff that you don't want to do now, you'll be able to do the stuff that you want to do later. I don't care if your body hurts. I don't care if you're tired. You need to study for my test. I don't care if your body hurts. You need to go run this. So back in high school, it did suck that we didn't win as many games as I wanted to. I for sure was one of the dudes that was out there like, oh, yeah, we're going to state this year. Knowing good and well we finished 2-8 the year before. I'm like, man, we're going to state. And I didn't care. You could fight me on that. I would tell you like every single year, man, like I don't care. And like, but that mentality and stuff like that is something that's carried me.
Yeah.
And it's still helping me even to this day of just like perseverance and really believing in yourself. Like when nobody else believes in you. Like I remember when I was like telling people I wanted to go to D1, people were laughing at it because I don't think anybody from Strake had went D1 in like 3 to 4 years.
Probably Obaniah.
I know. I think MJ Sam.
Oh yeah. He went to Rice.
Like he went to Rice, yeah, and he was like the last person to go D1, and then he wasn't even like a huge that. He was the only person. I think like the class before that was like that one class that was super cool that went like David King and all of them that went to like the second round of the playoffs.
Yeah.
They were like the guys, and I remember I looked up to them and I was like, man, I'm trying to do what they did. Like I was like, I'm trying to go, D1 football and, make something of myself and make the school proud by getting a state championship or at least going to playoffs. And that was like the biggest thing is I'm a really big person that, I try to like whatever community that I'm in, I try to like support, that. And like, I like to make people proud, you know what I'm saying? Like, because so many people put so much stuff into me. So high school was cool with that. And it learned how to, teach me to like really persevere. High school football was cool in that sense. And looking back now, I kind of wish I would have did something different. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's so much more like even more competitive now. And like knowing what I know now, if I knew then, I would like try to change some things. But it was cool. I learned a lot. And I made a lot of like I said, I learned a lot of mentors. And then like that stuff really helped me into college. Like that work ethic that I really established. I think after my freshman year, I remember my coach is sitting me down and like, yeah, you're good, but you way too cocky. Like you need to work harder if you're gonna be what you think you're going to be. And then I had to really take a self look in the mirror. And when I took that look in the mirror, I was like, man, there's so much more I can do, right? Like there's so much harder I can work. There's so many more things I can do to stop slacking and all that stuff. And I really kind of just took it and worked on it and kept working on it and kept trying to be better. And that led me to college where I ended up becoming, the hardest working person on my team. I ended up majoring in engineering also at the same time while playing football, which was a struggle, bro. Like a struggle. Sounds like it. Remember like times I would literally pull all-nighters and go straight into a morning workout at 6 a.m. and like just be hurting. But I mean, high school was dope because it really like I felt like that was really where I established my work ethic and really kind of the man who I am today is really establishing in high school.
Yeah, no, for sure. Definitely. Everybody's going to look back on high school and think there are definitely some things I could have done differently, whether it was like if you played sports, whether it was academically. And like you said, like Strake it was no joke. Like it wasn't necessarily the hardest school to get into, but it was, for all of us, we lost a lot of guys in our class that just decided to transfer for whatever reason. Right.
Right.
And it was definitely the real challenge is staying with it, not giving up, and then, making it to graduation. So you can go to college. And I like that you brought up mentors because you mentioned a name that I haven't heard in years, but you mentioned Dean Fletcher. And for me, this is unrelated to athletics, but like just, as like as a human being, you probably remember me in high school. There were times where I was definitely out of line, like I was a kid. I was, just trying to make as much trouble as I could because, that's basically all I focused on. Right. And you're at an all boys school where that's basically like the thing that we like, it's a bunch of dudes in school. Like, what else are we going to do? We're not necessarily focusing on the bigger picture and thing. We're just trying to like see how much trouble we can make. And I'll always tell people that like, now I'd like to think that I'm more mature and whatnot as, an adult. I'm 25 now. So it's like, I hope I'm more mature than I was in high school. But I will always tell people that like, I look back at my time in high school at Strake. And even though he ended up leaving, I think after like junior year. I tell people, I was like the dean of students, Dean Fletcher, he was the first dude to ever really like, besides my parents, but like he was the first person to ever really straighten me out because it got to the point where I was spending a lot of time in his office, and it's not because we were friends, we ended up becoming friends because of all the interactions, but whether it was PH or just having to get sent to his office, all that time I look back on and it definitely built a lot of character. And he's one of those people that I attribute a lot of just, me actually like buckling down and taking things seriously. And like you said, like learning, work ethic and just understanding that, there are important things that you have to work hard on and you can't jeopardize that just because, you want to have fun. Like not everything is
Right.
fun. And we have to take things seriously. And between him and Coach Clemens, I
Coach
I learned
Clements.
real quick after freshman year that this isn't the game anymore. This is real life.
Right.
You got to start taking things seriously. And then before we kind of move on to the college stuff, I do want to mention this kind of a side note, but one of my co-hosts, he went to Dallas Jesuit. He's a year older than us. And
Mhm.
he wanted me to ask about, guys, how many times did you guys play Dallas Jesuit?
Twice.
Okay.
I think we played in my sophomore year, and then I want to say, or maybe 3 times. I want to say my sophomore year. No, maybe twice. Either my sophomore year, my junior year, or my sophomore year, my senior year.
Okay.
I think was the times that we played.
Yeah, so he played nose tackle, and he just wanted me to ask you. He was like, "Hey, can you just remind him about the games that we had against them?" And I was like,
Yeah, they
"All right,
won.
I
They
don't
won a
know."
lot. They won a lot. They had Jake Oliver
Yeah, I
was a
remember.
receiver. It was funny because I ended up playing him in college, and he was like, I remember when he was at Dallas Jesuit, everybody was like, man, he's so cold. And then he got to college, and it was like everybody kind of caught up to him, and it was like, all right, whatnot. But yeah, they were a stout program. I ended up having a guy who played with me in college actually went to Dallas Jesuit too.
Okay.
It was pretty funny. So yeah, he used to talk the same mess, like, oh, we beat y'all.
I know.
Oh yeah, but I'm smacking you now. So
Yeah, that's all. That's all that matters. That's all that-
what are you trying to say? You living in the past, bro.
Exactly. It's all history. That's what I told him. I was like, "Hey, we're good now, though, so it don't even matter anymore."
Right.
But yeah, so now moving into college, I did, like I said, I did a little research, had to do it, make sure I got my facts straight with stuff. And you actually you ended up attending Rice. That's where you committed to, but you had a few other pretty big schools that were coming after you in the Ivies. I believe Princeton
Mhm.
and Harvard, correct?
Yeah, Princeton and Harvard running me really bad. They were sending me handwritten letters all the time, but I didn't want to. Yeah, Harvard was really really going on to me. We can get into the Harvard thing if you want.
Yeah. Just
Uh,
want to know kind of like what the recruiting process is like. Cause like for me, I played
yeah,
soccer in college, but basically had one school I was looking at the whole time. Um,
right.
but how was that process of just getting recruited and
Yeah.
ultimately choosing?
So yeah, the recruiting process for me was like really kind of it was interesting. So it was like I felt like I did a lot of the legwork myself. I think recruiting is interesting how it goes down. Um, most like a lot of colleges weren't looking at Strake, and I think it might have been because of our record or
Yeah,
whatnot. But I felt like I was like killing all this stuff as much as I could. But I used to remember I used to sit in. Do you remember Coach Duncan?
of course,
Uh,
man. Computer
you
science.
you know what I'm saying? Bullying Lutz, Coach
Exactly.
Duncan. You know what I mean? So I used to sit in his class. I used to like figure out all the people I could find emails to and just send out emails like, hey, could you check me out? Yada, yada, yada. And that's before like recruiting like really hit that Twitter landscape and all that stuff. Twitter wasn't really popping at the time. And recruiting wasn't what it was back then, what it is now. But yeah, when the recruiting process came for me, I remember like I was really trying to reach out to get as many people to look at me as possible. And then I started taking visits. I went to like OU. And I really wanted to go to OU. Harvard had came and Princeton came and they offered me. Harvard really, really, really wanted me. And my dad wanted me to go to Harvard back. He's like, man, I mean, you could go to Harvard. He's like,
Yeah, of
you
course.
understand, like you can go to Harvard. You'll
Yeah.
get a free education at Harvard. And I was like, I mean, that's cool. But like in my eyes, I was still thinking about the football aspect. Like, yeah, Harvard's cool, but I was like, I want to be competitive in football. Like my biggest thing was like, I wanted to figure out what school would give me the best of both worlds. What school could I go where I can get like a top-notch degree that would be well respected. And then also at the same time, though, give myself an opportunity to be able to, play against a level of competition that would be respected enough for me to be able to like, make it and play football at the next level. And so I that was like my two huge things. And so Stanford Rice really kind of came out my junior year, and they were like the first school to offer me. And I remember I waited, and then Texas State had offered me later, and then Northwestern had started calling, and they were looking at me, but I ended up getting hurt, and they wanted me to go to a camp, but I wasn't able to attend the camp. And then OU wanted me to do it, but I don't think OU was going to allow me to be able to major in engineering and also play football. And that was like a huge thing. Like, I was huge on my academics, and I was like, a lot of schools were telling me like, oh yeah, you could, major engineering. But like the thing was like, once they got there, they would tell you, hey, no. And so I would ask the players, I was like, hey, what is it that you major in? And I like try to see what it is that they were majoring in, what their plans were post college.
Yeah.
And that told me like kind of what it was I was expecting to hear, what I was expecting to be at and stuff like that. And so Rice was like really a school that like when I had told them that I wanted to, most schools were like, they'd be like, oh yeah, we love you as a football player. And then they'd be like, all right, so what are you thinking about doing for academics?
Yeah.
And I'd be like, I want to major in engineering. And that kind of like gave me some weird looks, per se.
Yeah.
And then, but Rice was like, I think Rice and probably Stanford were like the only two schools that are like, okay, if you want to do that, like we're here to support you. Like it's going to be hard, it will be tough, but we have guys that are doing it. And if you're able to be disciplined, you could be able to do both and be able to be really good. And Rice was really the school that like, I remember we looked at on an unofficial visit, like I hadn't even thought about committing to the school, but they were like, hey, listen, this is like all the courses you would take. This is how we would do it. This is how we set up. And they literally like laid out a game plan for me. They're like, which engineer are you doing? And I was like, I'm not sure exactly which one. I know I want to do engineering.
Yeah. They're
like, well, this is your game plan. This will have you take your freshman year, your sophomore year, junior year, and senior year. And I told them, I was like, my goal is just to leave here, go into the NFL, and for me to be able to have my degree. And I was able to accomplish both. And so, the recruiting process was interesting, but then I ended up, kind of locking in on Rice. And I was really kind of hesitant, not a lot of people know, but like the night before, I really didn't want to go to Rice because my big idea for going to college was like going away. Like I much have rather went to like SMU, like, which is like just right up the street in Dallas, but I did not want to stay home. Like I always was wanting to get away from home.
Yeah.
I was like, you go to college means go as far away as possible.
Yeah.
My dad, he's from New York, right? And he went to school all the way in Louisiana. He went to Grambling State University. That's where he met my mom at.
Okay.
And I was kind of like, oh yeah, I'm for sure following his footsteps. Like I'm gonna go to another side of the country. Like I don't care. Like I gotta go to, like I was a huge Florida fan. So I was like, let me go to Florida or something like that.
Yeah.
But when it came to it, the only school that really kind of sat down and were like, hey, let's really, like, if you want to do this, we'll support you. It was Rice. And so when I committed there, I was like at first hesitant, but as like I started getting there and I started doing more things, and as the time got closer and I really saw like the way that my academic advisor, Mike Yakel, and like my professors, like I still keep in contact with them to this day, which is like crazy to me. And even a lot of them follow my career and will send me email updates every now and then, like, hey, congratulations on your XYZ, all the tackles you made or whatnot. I'm like loving seeing you. I remember you were in my class struggling, all that stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I remember being in the office hours, struggling and stuff like that. But Rice was really the school that allowed me to do both. And so I was able to graduate in 4 years, and then I was able to go to the NFL, which I was like a blessing in both things. Like I was able to take care of, like I went to college to get a job done. I was able to take care of both of it, and that was a blessing. And I enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you're, again, not a whole lot of team success in high school and football, but, you had coaches telling you that, hey, like you can really be somebody, and you're definitely one of the best players on the team. And then you get to Rice, and then you probably kind of get that realization of like, all right, this is the best player from every high school team, and stuff like that. So what was that kind of adjustment period of like, all right, now, not everybody is good. Everybody's just as athletic, just, like just as smart. They're going to work just as hard. What was it like to kind of not just keep up, but even like elevate yourself to be above that?
I had to learn patience and learning that there's a process, right? Like there's a process to everything. And it's something that kind of came up to me again in the NFL. And like, I feel like I'm always going through, especially like being a young player and like going through all the trials and tribulations I've been being an undrafted guy. But like when I was in college, like you said, like everybody's good, right? Like everybody was a superstar of their high school team. Everybody was a superstar in their district or whatever. And when I got there, I was like, okay, well, it's just time for me to elevate my game. So I just kind of like looked at it, and I just kept working at it, and it didn't like happen immediately. It took time. So like my freshman and sophomore year, I was really playing special teams, but I was doing really well in special teams. Okay. And I was like, man, I know I'm a hell of a linebacker. And I kept making plays. And I was like, I remember at one point I almost wanted to transfer because it was like, I felt like I wasn't getting my shot to be able to play linebacker, but I felt like I was outperforming everybody. And I kept, my parents were like, man, just stick with it, dog. Like you got it. Just keep working, be patient, keep being patient. And so I kept lobbying to the coaches like every single day, like, man, play me. Like I can play, making plays in practice, hitting fools, knocking them out, doing all the different types of stuff and just dominating and just letting myself show on the field. And I kept working. And like you said, I got to elevate my game. I had to really like learn how to, elevate my game and take constructive criticism and learn like, yeah, you're good. I remember ended up being a motivational tool was like I had to go into, you have what they call like the end of like your exit meetings, right? So at the end of every season, you have a meeting that you do your exit meeting and whatnot. And I remember I was pissed off after my sophomore year going into my junior year because I was like, I felt that the guys who were playing above me were not better than me, that they were not as good as me. And I had told my coach, I was like, I'm frustrated. I was like, every single time I'm here, I was like, I'm doing everything I can on special teams. You told me to do X, Y, and Z. I felt like I've made X, Y, and Z commitment. And I remember my coach was like, it's like, you're good, but you're not as good as you think you are. And when he had said that to me, it like ticked me off. It like made me pissed. And I was like super mad. And I remember I went home and I looked at him. I was sitting in the office and I remember I looked at him and I said, as soon as he said that word, I looked at him and I was like, okay.
Okay.
I was like, bet. I remember what you said. Like, all right, cool. And I didn't say anything else. I just like looked at him. I was like, I kept looking at him like this and I kept shaking my head and I said, all right. I was like, all right then. Yeah. And that next season, I was able to crack, I ended up starting. And in my first season, I went crazy. And every single time I was playing, that's all I thought about was like how he said, you're not as good as your listeners. Every single time I hit somebody with like so much anger and aggression. And the very first year I started, like you said, I ended up becoming a 2-time all-conference player and all that stuff. But, I really just kind of like, I was able to humble myself and take constructive criticism and listen to what he was saying. And even though I was pissed off about it, I like took it to heat and I was like, man, all right, cool. Like, I'm going to prove you wrong. Like, you're not going to tell me what you think I am or what you whatnot. I'm going to show you how your opinion is just that. It's an opinion. It's not factual. I'm the only one who can hold the facts about X, Y, and Z. So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And, being in the Conference USA, even though you didn't get to leave for college, you probably got to visit a lot of different schools, different cities. What was probably one of the best places or schools? Like it, I'll kind of sum it up all together, like the city, the school, kind of the atmosphere, maybe playing against them. Cause I'm sure there's some teams you just love to play against versus others. What was kind of like the best school and city throughout college?
So I got to shout out A&M. I mean, it's A&M by far. Okay. We played A&M my freshman year. So we played Notre Dame my freshman year. I remember my freshman year, we played Notre Dame. Notre Dame was cool. It was like, going to Strake, everybody loves Notre Dame and I'm not Catholic. So like going to like, hearing about Notre Dame, I'd never been to Notre Dame, but everybody talked about Notre Dame. Like, oh my gosh, I love Notre Dame. Notre Dame this, Notre Dame that. Like I want to go to Notre Dame, yada, yada. So like for me to actually play against Notre Dame was like pretty dope in the sense that it was like, okay, so this is a school I've been hearing about all throughout school. And this is like the dream school of everybody else seeing Touchdown Jesus. That was cool. That was like a cool atmosphere. But by far A&M was like the coolest because their fans are like, it's like a cult there. I mean, they love their A&M football. We were playing and I remember I was on the opening kickoff. I was playing special teams in my freshman year. And, everybody's getting ready to do the kickoff and stuff like that. And I remember I took a second to take it in. It was like one of the times I was like, man, just like, because I couldn't hear myself think. It was so loud. My ears were ringing. They were like they had just expanded Kyle Stadium to make it like even bigger. It was like, Johnny Football had left the year beforehand. So this is like the year right after Johnny Football. Like Johnny Manziel had just left. And I remember I'm hearing it and I couldn't hear anything. I could barely hear myself think. And everybody's just going crazy. And it's that opening kickoff. And I was like, man, and their fans were just going crazy. We lost that game, unfortunately. But I remember I had like 2 huge hits where I laid out a guy. It was actually, it's funny. Me and him actually played Little League together. And he went to A&M. I didn't know until after the game that was who that was. But I had some big hits on the kickoff or whatnot. And they were playing it in the film room the day, the next day after the game or whatnot. And that kind of like helped me really kick off my career in college or whatnot. But A&M was by far their fans are the loudest, the most like, saying like they were literally like the loudest and they were all excited because I think it was only the second game of the season And
Yeah.
they were like still hype and all that stuff. I don't think they ended up doing anything that year, but yeah, it was dope, and I enjoyed A&M by far. By far, they had like the best. They had the best fans to play against.
Okay, yeah. And I mean, from high school, I think for amongst our class, it felt like if you didn't go to UT, you went to A&M. Like basically everybody. So I'm sure you had a bunch of people like blowing you up before and after the game about it.
Yeah, for sure. Like even parents that were on like the football team, like their sons were out. Like what's the name? They're like, I think they either hit my parents or they hit their son. They hit their son and was like, "Yo, I saw Emmanuel on the field. Like, I took this video of him or whatnot."
Yeah.
And it was like it was nuts, man. It was crazy. It was cool though. It was a real cool experience, especially playing like that close. A big school that close to home.
Yeah, for sure. So before we move on, do something real quick. We do this with all of our guests. We play a little game. I know I didn't mention this to you before. We like to surprise people, but we call it rapid fire questions. So I'll put 40 seconds on the clock on my phone, and I'm just gonna ask you some questions. Just, whatever comes to mind, just answer it. So here we go. We got 40 seconds on the clock, and it's gonna start now. All right. What's your go-to pregame meal?
Spaghetti, a little bit of grilled chicken, a bagel roll, and some type of vegetables.
Okay. What's the best city you've traveled to?
Vancouver.
Okay. What's the
British
first?
Columbia.
What's the
Or
worst?
London. Take that. London,
Okay.
England. I'm sorry.
What's the worst football injury you've had?
I tore my ACL 2 years ago.
Okay. Who's your favorite athlete of all time?
Kobe Bryant.
Okay. And then last question. If there was a movie about you, what actor would play you in that movie?
Oh, there's a movie about me. What actor would play me in that movie? Somebody. Oh, that's tough.
I saved the toughest one for last.
That one's tough. I'm gonna have to say Michael B. Jordan, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? Good looking dude. I'm a good looking dude. Nah, I'm playing. I would say Michael B. Jordan, man. He's a charismatic guy. And I feel like I really like the way he acts and stuff like that. So if I ever had a movie made about me, I'd be honored if Michael B. Jordan played me. That'd be pretty dope.
Yeah, and he was in Friday Night Lights, so he's
exactly. That's that whole entire Vince when he played Vince in Friday Night Lights. I mean, he killed that role. So like, yeah, I would love it if he played me in a movie. That'd be dope.
Yeah, that's okay. You're gonna think it's funny, but so like I've always asked people this question too, and like I think I have a realistic answer and then an unrealistic answer. My unrealistic answer is also Michael B. Jordan. I know he's not Filipino or anything, but like if there was just one dude that you wanted to play you, he's one of those guys, like that you just
right for sure. About. Who's your realistic joint then?
Realistic ones, man, it's hard because there aren't many like well-known Asian or Filipino actors.
I got one. He's not Filipino, but the dude who plays he's an Ant-Man and he plays he talks real fast. He's like, man, you know what I'm saying? I'm hanging out with my friend and she's crazy cool. And we're sitting up there, that guy. If that dude and you, that's the first person I thought of when you said like, I thought you were about to say him. You and him would say, he's not Filipino, but y'all kind of look alike in some senses, especially with the goatee joint. That's you, man.
That's enough for me.
It was Michael Pena, I think it's his name. Michael Pena.
I think, I don't know his name, but I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah, if that's who I'm thinking of, because y'all are both funny, y'all are both quirky, like that would be the guy who I would choose to play you, and he would kill it, like that'd be the guy I choose.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, when I think about like Filipino actors, the most iconic one we have is Dante Bosco. So he's on the older side now, but a young Dante Bosco playing me, I'm cool with that because he's one of like the most well-known guys, at least for like our culture. But yeah, thank you for playing that. Hopefully, you got fans out there that are watching this. They learned something new about you, right?
Right.
And just to keep this moving on, we're kind of getting to the end of this interview, but we did, of course, want to talk about your pro career. And like I mentioned at the very beginning, you've played for 4 different teams now. And before we kind of get to the Texans, I did want to, just kind of dive into what it was like first becoming a pro because, like I said, I tried to follow your career and I was kind of looking at some of your history and, you ended up being on 3 different teams, I think within the same year.
Yeah, my rookie year.
I remember I saw originally on Twitter that you had signed with the Falcons and then you were at the Chargers. And so during that season when I found you were at the Chargers, I was like, okay, he's at the Chargers. And then I'm watching a Seahawks game and you're on the sideline talking to Russell Wilson. And I was like, wait, what? Like, what? I thought he was on the Chargers this whole time. So, and then I found out you were with the Seahawks. So you've been on a lot of, really good teams, played with, a lot of very notable players. What was it like, adjusting to the pro level, and then also just learning from, some of, the most respected, notable players in the league? What's it like, being around them? Because you see guys like, I know you played with KJ Wright, so it's like you see him and Bobby Wagner in the LOB. Probably, I think we were in like college maybe, and then now you're
college,
now you're part of the linebacking core with the Seahawks. What's that like? Because I'm sure it's, you try to be professional, but at the same time, like these are guys that you watched growing up.
Yeah. So, when I first came in the league, so I was undrafted, right? So it's like you have the whole entire draft, you can come in and people are seeing their names getting called on the TV screen, they're getting a call, but my name never really got called. But I did get called around, I want to say around the 5th or 6th round. They called me up and they were like, the Falcons called me up. They're like, hey, Emmanuel, if the draft ends and you're not, nobody drafts you, we want to sign you as an undrafted free agent. And I told them, I was like holding up hope because I actually thought the Browns were going to come and get me because they were like really talking to me heavy throughout the whole entire process. And I was like, man, if they would pull the trigger on me, I'm for sure going to go. I didn't care where I want to go. I just really wanted, because I had worked so hard to be able to get that moment. Yeah. I really wanted to do that. But, the draft ended. I remember I signed to the Atlanta Falcons and I was like, all right, cool. This is an opportunity. And when you get into the league, it's all about your opportunities, what you do and make the most of them. Right. And so signed to the Falcons and went there for preseason, and it was tough. It was at first, it was an adjustment. It's funny, is like when you go into like the professional aspect, it's like especially like when you went from like high school to college and then college to, the NFL, it's like you think you know stuff, but you really don't know anything. And it's like you feel like you're a fish out of water and you don't know, like you really don't know anything. And it's like the funniest part about it was like, I remember I went into there and I was like, man, I thought I knew a lot of football, but I realized I didn't know what cover 2 was. And that was like the only thing I felt that I wish I had a better exposure to and stuff like that in college, was really just understanding the dynamics of football and understanding all the intricacies of football. Because football is really, in a sense, it's almost like chess. You know what I'm saying? Like there's 2 games of football. There's a football game that you see, right? Like obviously running and stuff like that. But then there's also another game within it of like playing and anticipation and learning like plays before they happen, having those instincts and like taking your instincts to a whole nother level through film study and by knowing, what an offense likes to do, who their personnel is, who they're trying to get the ball to and stuff like that. And I had a crash course on that. My preseason was my rookie year preseason. That was when I say that was like literally the crash course of football, my head was spinning. And it took forever, really, until like those last 2 preseason games before it finally started clicking. Like I was always working hard. I was always running and I was kind of like happening to get into the right place. And then that last preseason game, it finally kind of clicked. Like I still made mistakes, don't get me wrong, and or whatnot, but like it finally clicked and I understood what was going on. And so as far as like meeting people that you hadn't known, I remember when I went into the locker room, I wasn't really starstruck per se. As the more I kind of got through it, but there was like certain people who I met that I was like, wow, that is such and such. Like I think I met Phil. So Phillip Rivers, when I got to the Chargers, we'll get to him. Yeah. But like I came after, I finished with the Falcons. I got released after preseason, and it's actually a funny story with that is I remember I had my last preseason game and I was like super nervous. And I remember going into the preseason game, I was just like God, please just like I really want this, man. Like the preseason is like an audition. It's basically like an interview process for you to be able to make the team. And it's like you got all these times. And I knew I was on the bubble and I was a guy who was like really close to being able to make it. And they said, man, they're like, it's going to really come down. People telling me like, it's going to come down to this last preseason game for you. Like if you do well in this last preseason game, man, it could be able to be, you'd be able to make the team. And I was like, all right, cool. And so I was like, man, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm just going to take over. And I'm just going to, I told myself, I was like, man, God, like I was really like going through a lot of stuff at that time and just kind of trying to figure out like, where I fit in and all that stuff. And you had a little bit of doubts at that time and just trying to understand like how I could be able to be better. And I remember I prayed to God, like I got on my knees, I was praying to him, I was crying. I was like, God, just please give me the strength to be able to guide me and show me, let me to be able to play my best game. Like, let me have fun with it too. Like, this is, I want to go out of this thing swinging, like having so much fun going out swinging and all that stuff. And so I went out there and I was like, man, I got nothing to lose. I'm gonna give it my all. And I had a pretty game. I think I had like 9 tackles and I only played like 2 quarters. I made a lot of mistakes too, but everybody was coming up to me after the game, like older players, like a person who was like, I was kind of like starstruck on that somebody who you probably wouldn't think was like Matt Shaw. So he played as a backup for the Falcons. And when I was in Atlanta, he was a backup. And then in my eyes, I was more so excited to like kind of meet him and know and like talk to him because, Matt Shaw was like our quarterback for the Texans, like for all the time. And I remember, do you remember, or did you have Mr. Cole for theology at all? Or who'd you have for theology as a freshman?
Oh, freshman year? Man, I couldn't tell you.
I think so I remember, I think Chris Nguyen was in my class and he had like Mr. Cole used to have this fat pat poster of Matt Shaw and he had just went to the Pro Bowl and whatnot. And like, I remember when I saw him, that was like the first thing I immediately thought. I was like, whoa, yo, that's Matt Shaw. And I almost had an opportunity. Like I jumped up in the air and like I had like jumped up to intercept the ball, but I was worried about hitting the ground that I like tried to brace myself and ended up dropping the ball. And I was like so pissed off at myself. I was like, man, I could have picked off Matt Shaw, bro. Like, wait till everybody hear about that. You know what I'm saying? Like my first couple of days, I picked off Matt Shaw or whatever. But nah, so like after that preseason game, I ended up getting released and it came down to it. But I was actually like, I remember I got released and I was bummed because like when you get released, they send you home. Put you on a plane ticket and all that stuff. And I was like, man, I felt like a failure, like in a lot of senses. And I was like really sad. But I remember like I kept, I went to church the next day. So it was like, I think I came home on like a Saturday or Friday and like went to church on that Sunday. And I didn't know what the waiver wire was at the time. And so the waiver wire is like, once you get cut or released, if you don't have enough accrued seasons or whatever, and you're like, you're not a vested veteran, you get 24 hours and every team gets an opportunity to be able to claim you and pick you up. And I didn't know what that was at first. So I was like, I had told my parents, I was like, they're like, so how do you feel about everything that's going on? What's your ideas, all this stuff. And I was like, you know what? I was like, I gave everything I can. I was like, I know I can play in this league. I know I can have a successful career in this league. I can play for a long time. And I was like, whatever happens, I just know I'm gonna work. Like all I can do is just trust and pray in God and I'm gonna continue to work and to be able to be the person that it is that I want to be. And they're like, all right, cool. So we got home and I was like kind of bummed. And then I was at church. And so actually it was the day before I was actually sitting at home, like taking a nap or whatever. And my phone buzzed. And there was like teams telling me like, hey, we want to bring you on their practice squad and all that stuff. So I was like, cool, there's still an opportunity. And that's like I said, all the NFL is about, you just need an opportunity, making the most of it. And I was like, that's all I need. It's just an opportunity. I'll fight my way to being able to be what it is I need to do. And I'll take my opportunity. And I remember I was at church and my phone kept buzzing or whatnot. And more teams were telling me, like, I think it was like 4 teams called up and were like, hey, we want to put you on the practice squad. So I'm like, okay, I did something good where 4 teams are calling, and saying like, hey, we want you to be, come play, on our team and be on our practice squad. And then they're like, hey, you got to make a decision about that. So I was thinking about it, but we were at brunch. Me and my parents were at brunch. We were eating, chilling, cooling it. And they said, all of a sudden my phone just starts buzzing and my parents are huge, like, bro, don't check your phone at the food table. Like, this is our time. Like, don't check your phone. So I was like, all right, I'm not gonna check my phone. But something was like, man, I gotta at least check this because my phone was buzzing a lot. And sure enough, I got a text message. We were at, I don't know, have you ever been to La Peep in Houston? Like the brunch thing? Yeah. So I used to go to the one off of Westheimer.
That's the one.
That's like, that's our spot. Like my parents go to there. Me and like, we know the manager, all the people there. Like,
okay, cool.
Like know everybody of them and stuff like that. So all of a sudden, like my phone is buzzing like crazy. I'm like, I gotta check it. Like, I'm sorry, mom and dad. Like, I'm not doing it. And next thing I know, I check my phone and this text comes in and says, no need to worry about choosing which team's practice squad to go to. The Chargers claimed Emmanuel and he's on their 53-man roster. And I'm seeing this and I'm looking at the phone and I'm like, Dad, like I'm on a team. And they're like, what? And they're like, I'm on a team. And I show my dad and he reads a message. And I'm like, I'm on a team. And we're in the middle of a restaurant on a Sunday morning. Yeah. And I'm in there screaming. Me and my dad are like, oh shit. hell yeah, yeah. We're like, oh snap. We dart out the restaurant. My mom is still there. She's trying to figure out what's going on. I'm like, Mom, like I'm on a team. I'm on a team. I gotta go. I was like, we gotta leave. I gotta go pack my bags. I gotta because they're talking about I gotta fly out tonight. Yada yada yada. And my mom is like, and granted, like I said, we're in the middle of a restaurant, so like, everybody's looking at us like, what the hell is wrong with them? Like, why the hell these two dudes screaming and stuff like that? And we out in the parking lot, like running around, like yeah, so excited because I was like, man, like. I had went through so much in that off season and or through that preseason and then kind of like really in my college career and all the stuff that I feel like I went through a lot of trials and tribulations to kind of like really get to the standpoint where I was at. It was just huge. And so my mom, like there was these two old ladies that were like sitting next to us and they're like, why are they screaming? And my mom goes like, he just made an NFL team. Like he like that's why they're like, what's that? Like, oh my gosh, that's so amazing. And like I said, we know the manager in there and whatnot. So my mom like pays a bill, like he like leaves like a fat tip and all that stuff, and it's like we'll see all like telling my parents like we're whatever. And so they ended up seeing them the next week and telling them, and like it's something that unfortunately that because of COVID that restaurant's kind of closed down for the moment. But like whenever I see that manager, it's something we always talk. He's always asked me a long career. But yeah, so I ended up going there and I was in LA and I played there, and then something crazy that happened was like I actually went to go play in London. And that was like the second country that I played in. I was literally the night before the game. I ended up getting cut because our running back, Melvin Gordon at the time, had like messed up his hamstring and he couldn't play. And because he couldn't play, they didn't want to only go into the game with two running backs because just in case another one got hurt, they would only be left with one. Yeah. So they elevated somebody off the practice squad to take my spot. They needed my spot. And they were like, hey, we're just going to put you down. Like treat this game like you're inactive. And then don't worry because we had like, they're like, because we had two kickers at the time, they were going to make a decision on the kicker. They're like, don't worry, we'll come back and we'll re-sign you. We're going to a bye week the next week. They're like, don't worry, we'll have you back up next week and you'll be playing again. So I was like, all right, cool. Like I was pissed off, but like, because I wanted to play, obviously. Like I was upset that I wasn't playing and I was like hella pissed off. But then Seattle was like the first team who really wanted me to come be a part of their practice squad. They had been watching me the whole entire time. So as soon as they saw my name appear again on the waiver wire, they were like, okay, we're not missing them this time. Mm-hmm. They came and grabbed me and I ended up not leaving. So I like literally flew from London. Like we were all on the plane flying back home. And as soon as I get there, I'm thinking about to come back and sign my contract to be able to get elevated again. I'm thinking I'm about to sign my contract and they're coming in and they're like, hey, has anybody called you? I'm like, no. And they're like, as soon as I walk into the door of the facility, the GM, the head coach, I think it was the GM, the scout, and the player pro personnel. It was like three guys that were all standing there. And they're like, hey, we got some bad news. Somebody claimed you. And I was shocked. I was like, wait, what? So I've gotten, this is my second time getting claimed. I wasn't expecting this. And I'm like, I got claimed. They're like, yeah. They're like, they won't tell us who it is, but you should be getting in a call here. And I was like, I was like, dang, that sucks. Like, I literally just got here. You know what I'm saying? Like, I had only been there for 6 weeks and I've been playing. And Seattle called, and next thing I know, I literally had gotten off a flight from, and we were going on to a bye week, so I had bought a plane ticket to come home to spend the week at home. Yeah. Had to cancel that ticket. Literally had bought a ticket that morning. That afternoon, by like 3 or 4 p.m., I was on a flight flying my butt to Seattle, and I was with the Seahawks ever since. And then, yeah, that's like how kind of like my rookie year, and that's how I ended up playing for 3 teams. It was almost 4. Another team wanted to come sign me off of the Seahawks practice squad. I ended up kind of like going up and down in their roster. The Jacksonville Jaguars actually wanted to sign me to their active roster, but I turned them down because I had an opportunity to be able to stay in Seattle, and they were able to make things work out so I could be able to stay. And so I ended up staying with the Seattle, the Seahawks the whole entire time throughout the rest of the season. So it was almost 4 teams.
Would have been interesting playing for like division rival, like your hometown team too.
Right. And that's what I was thinking. Like I could be in Houston and, like I was like, oh man, I'm about to play, go play. I never played in NRG. And I was like, oh yeah, like this is gonna be the coolest thing on the planet, to be able to go play in, Houston, to go play for the Texans, or play against the Texans. So yeah, it was almost 4 teams my rookie year. It was only 3.
Yeah, it's interesting because like we all grew up hating the Titans, the Colts, and the Jags, like no matter what every year. But of course, like you said, opportunities presents itself. But so you spent a couple years in Seattle, and you said that's when you got injured?
Yeah, so it was literally in the first day of training camp. I was actually trying to avoid somebody. Like we were like playing a thing, and the dude was like running into me. He didn't have the ball. I was trying to like not make a big collision because I was like worried about making sure he didn't get hurt.
Mhm.
And ended up like stepping wrong, and my ACL ended up tearing that, and that was just that. Like I'd never been hurt at all in my career at all,
Okay.
and it was like my very first major injury, and it sucked. So I ended up being the whole entire season stuck on IR. Just really grinding, trying to rehab and get that stuff right. So yeah, that's how that went.
Okay. And then fast forward a couple years, and it's funny because around the time before you signed with the Texans, we had linebackers dropping left and right, right? Like I think Merciless was out for a while, like Cunningham was
Mhm.
injured a lot, and so part of me was thinking, I was like, man, what's Ellerbee doing? They should just sign him. Like that's literally what I was thinking. So I was like, just bring the hometown guy to the team, and then like a month later, I saw I think you were the one that retweeted it first, and then I was like texting some people from high school and stuff, and I was like, yo, this is literally one of the coolest things ever. Like not only, it's cool to know somebody in that's playing pro, but then now he's playing for like all of our favorite team. And it's
Mhm.
like that was definitely a lot of hype for me, like just on the outside looking in. What was that process like? What was it, kind of like a bang bang type of thing like the last couple teams, or was there a bit of a process there?
No, it was kind of like a bang bang thing. A lot of stuff that happens in the league, it's really weird. The
Okay.
Texans school, is obviously a blessing, to be able to play for them, and be able to play at home. A lot of, obviously that season last year was really trash. It wasn't kind of reminding me of my straight days, and the way that we had out there. But yeah, it was a process. But it was cool. It was really bang bang. It was like I remember I got released. Like I was on IR and they released me off of IR, and I was in Seattle. I was still rehabbing. I was working out and I was just training and just trying to make sure that I had my body right, because you never know what happens. And then they called, and they were the first team to call, and they were like, "Hey, we want to bring them in for a workout." And obviously with COVID like really kind of changed the landscape of the way a lot of stuff is done, because we didn't have a preseason this year. So that was like a big bummer for me in the sense that I was able to really kind of get back out there and show, but I was able to have the opportunity to be able to go, play for the Texans. And I went out there, did the workout, and did well, did really well. And they signed me. Was with them the whole entire season. It was cool. It was a cool experience or whatnot. You know what I'm saying? It was a lot of stuff is, kind of weird or whatnot, but yeah, it was a cool little thing. Yeah, that's all I can really say about that. It's just, I feel like I don't have really too much, yeah, it was just cool. That's what I'm saying. It was cool.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, there's a lot going on with the organization even now, and
Yeah.
obviously there's a lot of it out there in public, and for like me as a fan, I'm hoping and praying that certain guys who kind of want to leave stay, just because
Right.
we can't
Right,
like
right.
I remember being a Texans fan from the beginning. Like I don't want to get set back,
Right.
but at the
Houston
same
sports
time,
world is hurting right now. I mean,
oh yeah,
Harden leaves and goes to the
yeah,
Nets, you know what I'm saying, and stuff
yeah,
like that. And being a Houstonian, you know what I'm saying, it's like there's a professional side, but there's also a side of like being
mhm,
Houston and stuff like that. And I hope, certain things happens, because like the city, the city of Houston deserves a lot, you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
And I always have, in my biggest things, if I had the ability to be able to make stuff happen and make stuff right, I for sure would, because like,
yeah,
for me, it's like no matter where I play, like Houston's always home, and I always have that. I always will try to do stuff for them. In the city of Houston, I love the city of Houston. I love the people in Houston, and that Southern hospitality. That Texas mannerisms is it's hard to find. It's funny. It's like
mhm,
when you leave Texas is when you really understand that Southern
yeah,
hospitality is like a real thing. Like,
yeah,
because other people are not like that around the country, which is
yeah,
interesting.
yeah. It's crazy. But yeah, like you said, like definitely Houston sports. We've been through it. Like even when we got a championship in baseball, it's like there's stuff that came with that. So it's like, man,
Right. Exactly. You know what I'm
and I
saying?
mean we just JJ Watt just signed with the Cardinals, so
Mm-hmm.
it's like man, like we're just hoping, But at the same time, like in the same way that I was feeling about the Harden stuff. Obviously, you don't want him to leave, but it's like this dude doesn't want to be here, and you just want the best for him, And that's the same thing with with our franchise quarterback. It's like ultimately, he's got to make the best decision for him. And, if the
You're right.
organization ain't helping themselves, we'll leave it at that. But, then that's just how it is. But like I said, it was definitely really cool to see that you were able to, because like regardless of what sport you play, it's kind of like a childhood dream, like the team that your hometown team that you
For sure.
grow up being a fan of. Like, of course, everybody would want to be Houston Texan or Houston Rocket or an Astro or whatever. So it's like, I'm sure that was a pretty big milestone that, like,
Yeah, especially for me, it was like, being there, being in Houston, playing college ball in Houston, and then playing professional ball. It was like I hit the holy trinity. You know what I'm saying? I played high school, college, and then professional. Like, not many people can say they've done that, all three in their, that exact same city. And so that was like, that was monumental for me. And I'm really appreciative of that and that time. And I really thank God. And I really am blessed in that standpoint. Because like you said, like, I know people are watching back home, you know what I'm saying, and being home or whatnot. And like, only thing I want to do is make people proud. Like, I want the next, the next kid that's coming from Strake or even from my community, like I'm from A-Leaf or whatnot. It's like, I want them to be able to look at that and be like, man, you know what, man, I can, I can go do that and stuff like that. Because that's, like I said at the beginning, like, it's always about reaching up, reaching back, and pulling up the next generation of those, from around you to be able to have, elevate them as well.
Yeah, no, for sure. And, we'll talk about it a little bit later at the very, very end, but, it's like, now that you've hit this milestone, I'm sure there's a lot more things that you're looking forward to with your career. But, as I already said, we were winding it down, but I did have a couple more things and then we're going to cut it off. But,
sure.
The first thing I just got to know, what was it like? Cause I know you've been on a few of the Madden games, right? What's it like kind of seeing yourself on a game like that? Because I got two questions. Obviously it's cool to see yourself on the game, but something that Madden's notorious for is they don't do like the face scans for every player. So like some of them look generic, unlike in the NBA, everybody looks like themselves. What's it like just kind of being on that game?
In all honesty, bro, and I probably like need to do a better job of this. I honestly don't play Madden enough, but I think it is dope that I am on it, because it's funny. It's like people will send me like, hey man, I need you to go play better, bro. I need you to get your stats up. You're on my ultimate team. I need you to play better, bro. I need you to get your stats up or whatnot. I think that's hilarious to me. And it's kind of motivation too, but it's also dope. Like, I played Madden like when I was a kid or whatnot, but like I don't really play it as much as I used to. And it's dope. I'm not gonna lie, like 100%. Like, it's cool. Like, to be able to see yourself actually in a video game is actually like is really cool. Crazy. Like, I'm not gonna lie. It's like my friends will play as me and they'll send me pictures like, man, I had to pick you up on my ultimate team, bro. Like, I already did it. I went and traded and got you, in a pack. And I'm like, oh man, like, I appreciate that. Like, that's really cool to me. So yeah, I really get excited about it. I'm not gonna lie, it's surreal to see yourself like really being playing on the a football field or playing in a game. It's really dope. I'm not gonna like downplay that. That's a really cool feeling. It's really dope. It's a blessing.
Yeah, for sure. And then the last kind of big one, like you mentioned, you are a foodie, and I just recently discovered that, and I saw, and you do have like a page dedicated to food, and it has like highlights of like your favorite spots in some of the cities. I saw like Seattle, Houston, New York, and stuff like that. This podcast, the Large Guys podcast, was kind of built on our love of food. Like we regularly talk about like food, and we'll debate, like the longest debate we've had is like, is it Cane's? Is it Golden Chick? Is it Chicken Express? And we'll just go back and forth. Obviously, I don't know how you feel, but Cane's is, top tier.
I haven't had the other two.
Okay.
Golden Chick and then Chicken Express. I think because those are not really in Houston. Those are only in Dallas, huh?
It's mainly South. I mean, I think, I don't know if there might be a Chicken Express in Houston, but for sure Golden Chick, never heard of it until I moved here.
Right. I think I've had, actually, I feel like I had Golden Chick. I think I went to Baylor to go visit a couple friends, and they have a Golden Chick in Baylor, and so I might have had it then. So yeah. I for sure am choosing Cane's. If I'm choosing one of them, I'm choosing Cane's. Cane's is a staple.
100%. Yeah.
So yeah.
We do a lot of talk about food and stuff, and so obviously to kind of keep on brand with that, of course I want to bring up food here at the end of this interview. But like you said, you are a foodie, and what is it about I don't say like, what is it about food that you love it so much? Because that's an obvious question. But like,
Huh?
I guess your interest and like fascination, especially with like going to like different places and also trying to like, let people know like this is the best place and whatever. Like how deep does it go for like your love of food? Like, because some people get real technical and they like think they're a food critic, but then like people are just trying to let people know what the dopest place or what the best place to be at is.
I think for me, it's kind of like I was a fat kid, like in not high school, but in middle school and stuff like
Okay.
that. Like, I remember I used to watch the Food Network, like Rachel Ray's 30-minute meals. Like that used to
Yeah.
be my show. Like I used to sit up
Okay.
there, and I'm not really like I don't feel like I'm that much artistic, but when it comes to like food, that's like really where I can like kind of get creative because like I feel like I'm killing two things. Like I'm feeding myself, but also at the same time, like I'm making some dope stuff, like some
Mhm.
real dope, dope meals or whatnot. And so, yeah, like when it comes to me, like I put those places out. I think it's cool because you're supporting a small business, right? That's the dope part about it. And there's that aspect. But then also from the other standpoint of like, I like food because you can be creative, right? There's no like there's rules to it. Like there's basic rules, like like you got a certain way you got to cook stuff, but also at the same time, it's really kind of just a feel. And so like I don't really make music like that. I don't really paint or anything like that. But when it comes to like me getting creative in the kitchen, I can like, I feel like I can really do some dope stuff. And I took a cooking class with my mom and we learned how to make French croissants. And
Okay.
that was like the coolest thing. Like it was like, I did it for like last year. It was like literally this time last year, like this, literally probably this week last year.
Mm-hmm.
She had came to Seattle right before the pandemic, like jumped off.
Mm.
And, when she had came over, we had taken like a food class here in Seattle, and it was the coolest thing ever. Like we like learned how to make them and stuff like that. And so after that, I really kind of got creative. And then quarantine really like exacerbated that whole entire process of me learning how to make food because I ended up like I didn't have nothing to do. You couldn't go anywhere. You know what I'm saying? Restaurants were closed,
Yeah.
so you had to cook your food. And I was
Uh-huh.
like, I've got all this time. Like I might as well start learning how to make some dope stuff. And so like I like would get on YouTube and then run to the grocery store and just like start making all types of things. Like I went and bought like a little torch that like I can make what is it called? Bananas Foster. Like I'll throw in
Okay.
like a little bit of banana liqueur and you throw it and the whole entire thing just explodes. I'm like,
Yeah,
oh
yeah, yeah.
fire. Like that's
So
cool. Like all types of stuff like that. And so yeah, like I love food and like, I always like to tell people like if somebody posts a food thing, I'm for sure responding to their story. I'm like, yo, if you don't post the location, bro, don't post the food, dog. You gotta at least post the location. Like I like literally would joke with my friends all the time, like, man, nah, bro. And they're like, oh, it's in here. I'm like, I easily take like I love to go whenever I go take trips somewhere. I love to like go out to eat. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I love to go try out places and whatnot. And I'll look it up. Like Yelp is such a great resource and stuff like that. For you to be able to learn, different places and support small businesses like that. And then looking at the way that people like, food is like, I feel like the great equalizer, right? Like everybody's going to come down and sit down and eat at a food table. And it's like, you can make somebody happy. You can literally change a whole person's mood by simply the food that you make them. Like if you make them something that's real good, I mean, you dance, you like, man, this is, hey, you really put your foot in this. You really just get excited, like because it's so like it releases dopamine in your body and all that stuff. So when it comes to me, I don't think I'm a food critic. Like, oh, this food's not good or this food's bad. Like, if you make something nasty, I'm be like, all right, yo, that's nasty. Like, don't make that again. But at the same time, if you make some dope stuff and you like put me on to places, I like love to put people on to places. Like, yo, I'm looking for this. I'm like, yo, go hit X, Y, and Z. And I have like a lot of friends that I went to college with. That like food people and we talk about it all the time and like trying to make make foodie pages or like, oh, let's go hit up this place whatnot. Like I always like I'm trying to figure out the next cool place to do. And then also at the same time it allows me to be creative too. Like tomorrow, so like I'll tell you about this, like tomorrow it's I saw this video. They took the Red Lobster biscuits, cut them in half, and they put a crab cake in the middle. Bro, when I saw that, like you don't understand, like that sounds fire. You can't tell me that don't sound fire, bro. Like, especially if you get a crab cake that's more crab than it is cake. Like a lot of people mess up when they make crab cakes. They make it more cake than it is crab. It's just like you're eating a whole bunch of bread and whatnot. But if I can get like, I know how to make it where I'm just gonna like have a crap ton, like a shit ton of just crab in there, and then have those Tetter Bay, those Red Lobster biscuits. Them things is addicting. Like you can easily. I don't know about you. I haven't been to Red Lobster in a minute, but when I go, I'm like, yo, send me home between them.
Oh yeah.
And like, we used to always eat in college. We used to always get the unlimited pasta from Olive Garden.
Yes.
And we
Yeah.
always get sent home. We would tell them, like, me and my teammates, that was like our Thursday night meal place.
Okay.
We would say, like, yo, send us home with breadsticks. We'd be out there leaving with like 2 or 3 things of breadsticks just to eat and snack on, because the breadsticks were just so fire. Like, obviously, we're carb loading, getting ready for the game and all that stuff. But like, so I'm like, man, I'm gonna have to take, the Red Lobster biscuit and cut it in half and put a crab cake in the middle. I'm so excited about that meal tomorrow. You don't understand, bro. It's like, I've been thinking about it all week. I saw the video on like Monday and I was like, oh yeah, that's my cheat meal for the week. Like,
Yeah,
I'm making that and I'm about to kill that. Like, I'm gonna have no regret after every bite. I'm just gonna be yum, 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 eating it, like, or whatnot. So yeah, I love food. Food is cool. I think it's a great equalizer. It brings a lot of juice to everybody. You know what I'm saying? You can make somebody happy, you can make somebody sad, but you really can like put a smile on somebody's face. And I think that's the cool part. It's like when you make something that's like really good, and it's like you have a stressed day and you come home to like a really good meal, or like you have leftovers in the fridge. And good thing about living, you live with somebody, like you have your girlfriend, she eats my leftovers. I already tell them, like, man, don't talk to me. Like, I'm pissed.
Yeah,
like, I'm mad. Like, don't like she ate my leftovers or whatnot. Or like, you have people that eat your leftovers, but like you come home, you be thinking about that stuff all day. Like, food is that important. So yeah, that's how, I'm really big on food in that aspect.
Gotcha. Yeah. And hey, for people who are listening, you want to put people on. I know you kind of go back between Seattle and Houston the most. So like, are there some spots you want to shout out real quick in Seattle and Houston that are like your favorite?
Yeah. Seattle, I gotta say my favorite restaurant is Island Soul. It's like a Caribbean, cafe that they have out here. It's like them, and they have like a really good Jay Berry's is a really great brunch spot that they have out here. If you go to Houston, I mean, there's so many. There's Cool Runnings. There's the Caribbean Shack. There's the Rice Box. I mean, Rice Box is the coolest thing. Have you ever been to Rice Box?
I have, yeah.
Yeah, like that thing is, I love how they have like the neon lights with it and everything like that. Yeah. Going to Juice Land, like after I finish yoga, I love to like get a smoothie from Juice Land. And then don't get me wrong, Smoothie King has the $5 Fridays, which is like the most fire. Like that was heaven sent for me in college. You're broke in college, you don't got no money. At $5 Fridays, you about to you going ham with that. Or like there's a couple places in Rice, like Chicken Kitchen. It's so many, like there's so many places, like I can even like Bella Green, Flower Child, even for the vegan stuff, like there's some like Soul Food Vegan is a great place. There's Mickey's Soul Food Cafe. I could go on and on and on. I have a long list of places, and there's like, I like food. Like I like all types of like diets or whatever. So it's like vegetarian. Like there's some really good vegetarian and vegan stuff. I remember one summer, I was really trying to get on my vegan and learn like, vegan stuff or whatnot. And like really trying to like, cause I try to eat healthy. And I cook a lot of my meals myself, in a way to be able to like, make sure that I'm staying on top of stuff. So like I try to, if I do go out to eat and it's not a cheat meal, I try to like find like a healthy alternative. Okay. So like, yeah, and I love poke. Like poke, oh my gosh, that poke's amazing. I love all that stuff. Sushi is amazing. Unlimited, sushi places we used to go. We used to go to like Sushi Cafe 9 in Katy, which was like an unlimited all you can eat sushi place for like $16. Yeah. And we would go there and like pig out and almost take a nap in the booth before we had to drive home. Like that's how much we love food. So yeah, food is dope for me. I love food. I just love food in general, bro.
Yeah, and I know you shouted out on I was looking through the highlights of Breakfast Club, and like whenever.
Oh yeah, I can't believe I forgot about Breakfast Club.
Yeah, like if the one place where I tell people that are from out of town, I was like, yeah, you can get soul food, you can get chicken and waffles, in almost every city. But man, it's not just the food, but it's the atmosphere. It's it's the chicken and waffles, it's the catfish and grits, it's the ambiance. It's like waiting outside,
exactly.
in the line, for like an hour, and it's like 100, like you said, 100 degrees in Houston. And you greeted at the door. I don't know her name, but there's an older lady who's always there to greet at the door, and she's real nice. She'll hand you a menu, and she'll ask you how your day is, everything. She'll give you recommendations. It's just something about that place. It's just so welcoming.
And the cool part, but this is the thing that kind of sucks about COVID, was like they had started opening up for that late night post club crowd, like that post
for real?
Bar crowd. Yeah, okay. They would be open on Saturday nights to Sunday morning, obviously to like 3 a.m. That thing right there, like say you out the night, having a good
Smart,
time
man.
with your buddies and stuff like that, drinking or whatnot, or just going out to the bars or whatnot, and you're like,
Yeah.
man, the night is not complete. There's two things. It was like before, because that just happened like probably in the last 2 or so years, or like 2 or 3 years that they started doing that. It was either you get a Whataburger, and then it turned into from Whataburger, which is like the best hangover meal post, like you're drunk or whatever, being a college kid.
Mm-hmm.
It was a Whataburger. But then as it got older, it was like Breakfast Club. I'm either hitting Whataburger or I'm hitting Breakfast Club.
Yeah.
And like I remember, like probably after my rookie year, one time like male boys were like, "Oh yeah, we can't end this night unless we go hit the Breakfast Club." Like that's exactly where we hit it. And that was like, I remember like me and my boy were like, "Man, the only reason why we going out, bro, is because we gonna try to hit that Breakfast Club at the end of the night. Like that's the only reason why we coming out tonight. It's literally so we can hit that Breakfast Club at the end of the night." So yeah, it's dope. It's dope.
For sure. Yeah, man. I haven't, part of COVID is the reason, but it's just, I don't always get to come back to Houston. And like when I do, it's like if it's on the weekend and I'm not there in the morning, like it's basically a wrap, right? So
yeah, it is.
It's been a minute, but there's no place, like we have a couple chicken and waffles places here in Dallas, and it's cool, it's good, but there's nothing like the wings and waffles at Breakfast Club for me.
It's not. But y'all got some good spots. Y'all got Deep Ellum. Deep Ellum has like that Sunday Fun Day brunch crowd, which is pretty good. There's some really good spots over there. Like went and visited some friends from college over there, and I was really impressed by the spots they had over there in that little brunch area.
Yeah, no, for sure. If you ever need recommendations, let me know, because
I'm for sure hitting you up. I'm trying to go to Dallas
I got a
sometime
huge
in
list.
March. Yeah, I need that. I need all that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And then just to really wrap this up, you talked about a lot of stuff that you've accomplished on and off the field. Now moving forward, you're about to enter free agency for next season. What are kind of just a couple goals you have in football and then also off the field and in other parts of your life?
Yeah, I just want to continue to, for me, it's like the biggest thing is like I have like a lot of goals as far as like what kind of player that I want to be, and making sure that I achieve those. For me, it's I really want to establish myself as becoming a player in this league. Being undrafted is hard, and you kind of get lost in the shuffle and But I'm really just trying to like this next year. I feel like I finally figured out everything, and it's like you think but every year you learn more, and it's like I'm still learning and whatnot. But I feel like I'm learning even more to the point where I can be able to play at a high level. And I saw that last year when I was with the Texans and whatnot, and I figured out I was like I finally had put together the pieces to be able to make plays and be able to do stuff, to be able to become the linebacker that I wanted to be able to become the special teams player that I want to be able to become. So I can do it on both ends. Like I want to become the best special teams player within the league, and then the best linebacker in the league. And those are my goals. And so trying to do that on the field, and then off the field, I really want to get my foundation kicked off, and then really start doing stuff in the community. Like, one of the things I really want to do is for this upcoming season is like do ticket giveaways, for whatever, city I'm in. Like hopefully we get fans and, hopefully we get this COVID thing under wraps, and we'll be able to get fans back in the stands and stuff like that. And I want to be able to give away tickets, do stuff that I can do within the community to be able to have youth kind of come to the games, and then, start doing drives, school drives, back to school drives. That's one of my goals, to do a Thanksgiving fundraiser or like a Christmas thing or whatnot. And off the field to be able to kind of really like start asserting myself in the community for the city I'm playing in, and then not only the city I'm playing in, but in Houston as well. I'm trying to do something in both fronts. So that's a lot of stuff that I got working on now, is being able to like kind of do events to be able to help people within within my community, the city that I'm playing in, and then whichever city that may be, and then also my hometown, because like I said, I always have love for Houston. It's an amazing place. I love it so much. So yeah, those are the goals I'm trying to do, and just become a better person, more well-rounded and all those types of things. So yeah.
What's the name of the foundation that you're starting up?
The foundation is going to be These Believers, and it's a foundation basically that's centered around the youth, and it's showing them that you don't have to be kind of locked into a box. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of times growing up, people were telling me, if I wanted to major in engineering, you had to either be an engineer or you could only be a football player. You couldn't do both. And I felt like I was able to break that mold. But a lot of people would tell me, like I told you, like the college coaches would tell me all the time, and even sometimes teachers would tell me, like, you got to choose one or the other. And when they found out I did both, and I was able to do both at a high level, at the end of the day, athletics are great, and don't get me wrong, I love them, but people are so much more than athletes. And I think you see with all the stuff that's going on within all the mental health aspects that are coming up, and you're starting to see like Vincent Jackson is like a person who, he just, killed himself or whatnot. And you wonder, obviously I don't want to speculate on what was the reason behind what was the reason behind, him dying or whatnot, but you always, that life once you leave the NFL and that life once you finish playing your sport, it's hard. And I know you probably went through this too. It's like you were for so long a soccer player, and now all of a sudden you're not playing soccer anymore. You're kind of living your day-to-day life. Yeah. And it's, your identity ends up becoming your sport because it's what you do and it's what you love. And it's a game you play since you were a little kid. Yeah. And now all of a sudden it's like, you're not playing that no more. And you kind of wonder like where, who is, a part of you has just disappeared, what I'm saying? You're not focusing on it every single day. And so I want to be able to show kids like that you're more than just that, what I'm saying? Like, it's cool to have multiple hobbies and then just to focus on them and be great at it. So that once you're done playing or once you're done doing whatever thing it is that you're doing, you're able to pick up the pieces and apply those same knowledge and the same skills that you got from that sport into other things. And so that's really what the organization is going to be based off of. We're going to try to do a lot of stuff within STEAM, so the science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics for kids, to be able to get them talking, because I always feel like the world needs a little bit more engineers, and that's always a heavily like it's a field that needs a lot more people within it. It's a heavily recruited field. And everybody's always talking about how we need more engineers and stuff like that. And then arts too, art programs and all that stuff. And I love music. I'm a music buff in a lot of ways. And so, and then also I'm starting to really kind of get into artwork as well. So yeah, just being able to do that for kids and be able to show them like, be a place where they can come, they can be able to be talented at their sport, and we'll be able to provide resources for that, but then also provide resources for them to be able to accomplish stuff off of the field or off of the court. That's like the biggest thing. So yeah, Bees Believers is a thing we're working on. We're trying to get that stuff up and running and trying to do that, hopefully by the summer, and then really start getting into the communities by the fall for this season.
Cool, man. Yeah. And for those who are listening, be on the lookout. If if this is something that you've heard about, this foundation that you want to be a part of, you want to support, definitely, be on the lookout for the summer and the fall of Women Believers. Kick starts and is up and running, hopefully in whatever city that you're listening from. And yes, just that's going to wrap up this interview. First of all, thank you, Emmanuel. I usually just call you Ellerbee, but
right now you call me Ellerbee, bro. You're good, but that's what it's funny. It's like my girlfriend was actually about that the other day. She was like, "What do you like to be called?" It's Emmanuel. I was like, I'm so used to people calling me Ellerbee. Like when I hear my first name, I'm kind of like, oh, what's up? Or now, like I'm so used to everybody being like, "What's up, Ellerbee? Like, how you doing, bro?" And you know what I'm saying? So yeah, bro, you good? Don't worry about it.
I was explaining that to my girlfriend. I was like, in high school, like there's just certain people that you called each other like Ellerbee, like Ryan Chandler. We just called him Chandler. Like It just depended. Like you either went by your
like
last name.
Ryan Doyle, we always call him Doyle. Like, that's Doyle. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like what's up, Brian? Like we call him Doyle. Weird. Like, that was his name. It's weird. Like everybody calls some people by their last name. So yeah.
Yeah, it's just how it is. But yeah, Ellerbee, I just appreciate you for being here for this interview, taking the time out of your schedule to do this. And real quick, just want to plug our stuff. If you're a new viewer, if you're a fan of Ellerbee in his football career, you're a friend or whatever, and you're just interested and you want to see what this interview is like, do us a favor, help support us with our podcast on our YouTube channel. You can subscribe to us there. You can follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Instagram, Twitter. We're basically everywhere. We don't really do Facebook because our demographic ain't that old. We're trying to still, but again, if Facebook's your thing, then if there's demand for it, we might do it. But we're trying to appeal to a little bit younger demographic. But again, if you're young, you're old, no matter who you are, and you like what you heard here, we got a lot more stuff going. We do food reviews, we do show reviews. Beginning of this year, all of the four hosts and myself, we all just watched Ozark for the very first time, and we've been doing reviews for that. We talk NBA, NFL, sports, MMA. We have a whole show dedicated to faith, called Faith by Works, where I interview a lot of my Catholic friends. We got a lot of stuff for whatever it is that you like, but check us out. Ellerbee, do you also want to plug your social media for where people can follow you?
Yeah, my socials on all my things is LB, like linebacker _ my last name Ellerbee, ELLERB as a boy, EE, and then 42. That's my socials and all that stuff. So add me on there if you want to follow along.
Yeah, for sure. And man, like I said, it's just really cool to just know somebody from a high school that's made it all the way to the pro level. And for sure, I'm gonna be tuned in to see what you do next. I'm rooting for you, of course. And for those who may be unfamiliar with you that are listening to this interview, be on the lookout. Emmanuel Ellerbee coming to a football team near you, most likely. Hopefully, Pro Bowl or Super Bowl. We'll see how it goes. But he's
That's the
grinding.
goals. Those are the goals. Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Yeah, he's grinding. I hope you guys got to learn just a little bit more about him and maybe something unique about him. And of course, the efforts that he's doing on and off the field. And for all of you guys who are listening, we'll see you guys next time. Peace out. God bless.